Hi, this is Charisma82 from Charisma82 Commentary. I know I haven't put any new videos up in a while, but I wanted to put this one up today. This is actually going to be part of a podcast that my brother-in-law and I are going to be putting together on we're trying to decide how often we do it. Right now, I think it's going to be more of a bi-weekly thing, once, twice a month, just to get us started. But in the future, I will have more information on where you can go to hear the podcast, and where my brother-in-law is going to be putting it up on one of his podcast channels. But for now, we're going to be putting it here on YouTube just to get the word out, get some people listening, and see if you like what you hear. Our podcast is going to be called At Odds Movie Reviews. We will be reviewing movies, and just like the name of our podcast, you can kind of deduce that we're going to not always be agreeing on the movies we're reviewing. So the video I am putting up right now is a podcast we recorded about the movie Spider-Man 3. So whether you loved it or you hated it, this review is for you. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy many more of our podcasts to come in the future. Thanks for watching.
At Odds Movie Reviews. Today's movie, Spider-Man 3. Hello, and welcome to the first ever At Odds Movie Reviews podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Tiffany.
And the reason why this podcast is called At Odds, you might find that interesting. The reason is because you won't be able to find two people who are more different, or maybe you could say more polar opposite in their opinions on movies.
Very true.
Yeah.
I agree with you so far.
Which is actually kind of strange.
I guess. I'd say about 98% of the movies out there we do not agree on. There's always a couple of exceptions.
Right, there are a couple of exceptions.
For the most part, if he goes and sees a movie and tells me he likes it, I won't go see it because I already know.
Yes, so what we decided to do was create a podcast where we discuss these movies together, because I think it's important that we realize in the end this is all art, it's all subjective, and there's no reason getting up in arms about someone liking or disliking a movie you feel the opposite about. A lot of times people get really mad at other people because of their opinions.
Like
right?
us.
Yeah, we do too.
But we get really mad at each other. I don't know why you just put in that political agenda there, John.
No, it's not a political agenda. But it is something I want to promote peace and love.
Okay, Superman. So we decided to start off our podcast with the movie Spider-Man 3 from the original trilogy because, I did not care for this movie. And John, how did you feel about it?
Well, actually, this is going to surprise many people. And this is going to be...
Probably not, because we just said we're at odds. So
That's true.
I think they know what you're going to feel like. But
well, this
go
is
ahead.
one of those few occasions. Actually, it's not few. It's not few at all. I oppose the mainstream view of many movies. I've come to realize this about myself. With certain movies, I tend to lean more positive. And when it comes to Spider-Man 3, and we'll get into what it is that I like about it, I'm going to be honest, and this is going to shock some people, Spider-Man 3 is my favorite Spider-Man movie.
Ugh. If you can't see me, then I'm rubbing my eyes in just pure disgust. But, yeah.
And that's probably what most listeners are doing right now, too.
It's not a good movie. That's my opinion. And I will be going over the reasons why I feel... Now, I do want to say that when I was... Because I did have to rewatch this movie to kind of remember why I disliked it as much. Even though I probably could just say in general I disliked it. I wanted to have some reasons why. But I didn't want to be super nitpicky about stuff. So I'm not going to sit here and go over all the little details that make the movie fall apart, because there were a lot of them that I noticed as I was watching it that I'm like, no, that makes no sense, or that wouldn't happen, or why is this happening when something else contradicts it. So I'm going to try to go over ones maybe you don't hear of as much, or are just so huge you can't pass them up.
And we all know what it is you're going to be, what those big moments are that you can't pass up.
Emo Peter.
Yeah, emo Spider-Man, which we'll get into, and don't get me wrong, I do believe this is a flawed movie. It's very flawed in many cases, but it's always been my viewpoint since this movie came out that the good of this movie outweighs the bad, and we're going to talk about it. So let's go ahead and get right into it without any further ado.
All right.
All right, let's start off talking a little bit about the characters, okay? Because these are characters you've fallen in love with in the previous two movies.
Well, some of them.
Right. These are characters that you know. Let's say it that way. I think we can agree with that. These are characters we know, and these are characters we're seeing have to deal with things that they haven't had to deal with before. And that's one of my favorite things about this movie, is that it puts these familiar characters into new and intriguing situations. Case in point, Mary Jane. Okay,
Starting with Mary Jane.
In all the other movies, in the first two movies, she was the will they, won't they love interest. She was the damsel in distress. And in this movie, sure, it ends with her being in trouble and being kind of a damsel, but throughout the entire movie, she actually had moments of true character. She had to act. You know, Kirsten Dunst couldn't just phone this performance in. She came in and she had a part to play. She had opinions. She had,
What opinion?
We
That
felt for
Spider-Man
her.
wasn't loving her enough?
No, we're going to get into it.
Oof.
And let's go in.
Yeah, I thought we were.
Well,
Go ahead. What scene was it that she acted so well that you thought that she performed better in this one than the other movies? Because I felt like she was the exact same, maybe even a little worse in this movie than before.
no, for the first time ever, Peter has to start thinking about other people than just himself, and that's that's one of the themes of the movie. He has to learn that lesson, and you see their relationship for the first time. They're finally together, by the way, but they have to go through actual real problems that relationships go through, and she is feeling left out because she wants to go after her own career, her own dreams, and yet those are kind of falling flat, and Peter just doesn't get it because everything's going well for him. And we see this.
So it's basically the opposite of the last movie, just done worse.
How so?
Because the last movie, she was getting all the good stuff going on for her, and he was in the opposite light. Everything was just horrible for Peter in the second movie.
Right.
/ Spider-Man. And in this one, it's like they decide, they're like, well, you know what are we going to do for the relationship now that they finally got together? Let's just swap the stories. We'll have it all bad for her and have him have all the good stuff, but he will have amnesia and not remember how he felt in the last movie, and have him have everything about himself while she's feeling the way she feels in this. She keeps going on about how she's like, you don't get me, Peter. That's one of the things I wrote down. There was no communication between the two of them at all. And I think you could agree.
Real relationships deal
That's why I just said you can agree to that. But I don't think they did it very well. There was no communication at all throughout the whole movie. Now, if there had been no communication here and there, but then they tried to put forth effort to try to understand each other, maybe I'd give it a pass a little bit.
They do. Did you watch the same movie I watched? Okay, let's get into this a little bit more.
Unfortunately.
Because I completely disagree.
Yeah, I know.
That Mary has the opposite story that she had in the second one. She was nothing in the second movie except this token. The movie starts with her picture. The second movie starts with her picture, and Peter gets to stare at it.
We'll get to Harry.
We'll get to Harry. But Peter gets to stare at her picture every day he goes to work, and everything's terrible for him. He just can't get the girl. She's with this other guy, and da-da-da-da-da. She's not given any character until this movie. And here she is.
No.
It's the first time we've seen anybody deal with, okay, what does the wife of a superhero deal with?
Well,
or what
not
is the
his
girlfriend?
wife.
Well, you know what I'm
I
saying.
know.
What does the girlfriend of a superhero deal with? What would it be like to simply have to sit, back at home while he has to go off and save the day? It was very real, and I really felt for her character. And now let's get to Harry. When Harry,
whoa, you're gonna say that and just jump over to another character?
well, this deals with what's going on with her. Because he comes in, and of course, we're going to get to all the stuff he has that goes on with his character. But he comes in, and she's feeling left out. She's feeling lonely, and the chemistry between those two actors, I thought, was very good.
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious.
Oh my goodness! I thought I
The
didn't
one
feel,
dancing scene in the movie
I
that was
didn't-
really good was in the kitchen
Oh.
when they're cooking.
I don't understand the director's obsession with dancing in this movie. There was way too much of it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
No, I felt like her relationship between both of them was very phoned in. I didn't feel like there was any chemistry there between her and Harry. I mean, I could see that he kind of, no, you know what? No, that's when he was playing her. So no, never mind. I don't feel like there was any chemistry between them. Because the only time he really tried to show a little bit was when he was trying to manipulate everybody. I don't know. But then whenever Spider-Man and MJ, I felt like the scenes between the two of them were just, like I said before, there was no communication between the two of them. They sat there and he kept saying about how wonderful his life was and wasn't listening to her. And she kept saying, "You're not listening to me." And then she ran out on him and then wouldn't pick up the phone and talk to him.
No.
I know that you say that that's stuff that happens in relationships, fine, but we only have so much time in this movie to get to see them together, which, by the way, we waited 2 movies to see, and all we got was him and her not talking to each other, and that was about it.
Well,
and
I think it was
annoying.
more. I think it was more than just miscommunication, and when I think it was getting into an actual theme, and maybe they dropped the ball a little bit with this theme, but I definitely appreciate what they were trying to get at. Aunt May, when she tells the stupid story about the ring, in that
You say
speech.
stupid. She's the only one of the good things.
Okay,
I thought
no,
about
don't get me
in the
wrong.
movie.
I love her in the movie. She's always going to be my Aunt May, and I love this stuff. Her advice. She has great advice.
Didn't
And
like
part
Sally
of that
Field?
advice. No, she's too young. Anyway, part
Oh,
of that.
wow, I
advice,
don't even want to know what you think about Melissa Tomei.
Yeah, part of that advice that she gives, she tells Peter, a husband has to put his wife above himself, and the whole movie is Peter learning that lesson, and that really struck me because I am married and I know that can be very difficult to put someone above yourself, and the whole movie is him learning that, and
I
he
didn't feel
has
like
to
he
give
was
her back
learning
the ring.
anything until the very end. He might have learned something at the end when she almost got killed, but I didn't feel like there was any progress throughout the movie. I feel like he was thinking of himself the whole time, and then the symbiote came along and turned him emo Peter, and then he didn't care about anybody, which, by the way, it's supposed to focus in on what you're kind of like, right? And then I think that's what the scientist guy, Dr. Connors, said.
Right.
It's supposed to
it amplifies
what you're feeling.
what you're feeling. And it
I
does.
could see how him totally ignoring his girlfriend and how she feels and not communicating correctly turned him into emo Peter. And then I feel like he didn't learn anything through that whole time. And then at the very end, he's like, "Well, he almost died. Can we get back together?"
No, okay. Let's get into Peter then. Let's talk specifically about his arc. Because, once again, number one, he has to learn to put his mate above himself. That's one of his big lessons. But at the end of the movie, okay, I'm going to go through my notes here because I wrote down, there was a line stated by Peter where he says, he talks about how Harry died, and we're going to get to Harry's arc too, but how Harry decided to be the best him that he could be. Okay, in the end, Harry decided to put out the best part of him forward, right? And that was the theme of this movie. Everyone has to make the choice of whether or not you're going to be the best you or the worst you. That's the whole theme of this movie. Now, Peter, throughout the movie, is learning to put his best foot forward, to make sure it's the best part of him. Now, obviously, when it comes to the symbiote, it becomes a very literal thing, right? The literal metaphor. It becomes dark Spider-Man, dark Peter Parker, right? Now, obviously, they went a little far with the emo.
A little.
But they went far, especially with like the hair and the dancing, of course. But
and backhanding MJ, yeah.
I love that scene.
Are you
that
kidding
scene
me?
is
I don't think
wonderful.
you would want to talk about that, but okay.
No, I'm not saying we should beat our girlfriends or wives.
Oh my goodness.
We're gonna have to put an ass. That's gonna be the title of this episode.
Should you beat your wives? Review about Spider-Man 3.
But the point is, that was his moment of realization. She says, "Who are you?" And he says, "I don't know." And it's this great, beautiful moment where you're thinking, how on earth could they get out of this situation? How on earth...
I did not think that at all.
Well, and then finally, that's when he wants to give Aunt May the ring back, and he says, I can't marry her. He says, I don't see how this could be made well in any way. I just don't see it. And Aunt May says it's going to take time, and it's going to take hard work, and it's a beautiful metaphor of life. But anyway, going back to this idea of the theme, okay? Everybody choosing to be the best person you can be or the worst side of you. Every major character deals with that same theme.
Yeah. I
Okay.
told you I could
You
get
can
behind
get behind
that
okay.
theme.
So
that doesn't mean they did it well. It doesn't.
I
mean
think
it was
they did it well in
executed
most of them.
But I could see how each of those characters sort of went with that.
Okay, let's go to Sandman real quick.
Oh, are we jumping to villains then?
Well, we're talking about characters.
Oh, okay.
And
I
the
thought
villains
I
are
didn't
the
know
characters.
if we were doing all goods and all bads or whatever. You know what? We keep talking about this. And
Let's
the more
do
we
Harry
talk
first.
about all of this, the more I realize I think the reason I have a problem with a lot of what happens. I mean, some of the dialogue's ridiculous, but I think it's some of the people who are acting out these parts. Some of the actors they have, like
You think there was miscasting?
James Franco as Harry. I don't remember it bothering me too much in the first movie, but I swear he had to have been high on most of these lines. Because when he would the execution of these lines, I'm just thinking he does not look like he's all there when he's giving these lines. And it's not an all there like he's complex thinking about this villain. No, I think he was high when he was doing like half this movie, if not more. And being James Franco, I totally believe that he was probably high for
That
most
is a
of this
good
movie.
possibility.
And just some of the looks he would shoot over at people, no matter when he was supposed to have amnesia or not. By the way, that was totally selective amnesia.
Right.
But yeah, like
Okay, let's talk about Harry. Let's talk about Harry.
all
Because
right, we're talking about Harry.
His is another arc that obviously it has problems. The whole amnesia part
Obviously.
is forced.
Oh
and
yes,
Now,
I thought it was stupid that
now,
they
don't
gave
get me
him
wrong.
amnesia.
it led to some great moments, and
Like
in my
what?
opinion, it led to, and of course you're gonna hate this,
Yeah.
but it led to the situation where you see MJ leaning closer to him rather than Peter.
I don't.
Also,
okay.
it led to, it was kind of needed to kind of push that villain arc later in the movie. I don't know how you'd fix it, but I do agree it's a problem. The amnesia part is a problem.
I think
but
his
I
whole
wouldn't know
character
how to
was a
fix it.
problem.
Now, his character, I disagree that is a problem.
It was a problem for me because, first of all, I felt like they threw him into the hobgoblin like way too soon at the beginning of the movie, and it was right there, and I'm like, okay. And they only did that so he could have amnesia, because they wanted him and Peter to have some sort of relationship, so everybody would relate when he's sort of supposed to be a good guy again, why MJ might start to like him a little bit.
Right.
And that's the only reason they did it.
No, because then he uses that later
they
when he
gave
gets
him
his memory
amnesia,
back.
so MJ will kind of have a thing for him, so they can do the whole stupid plot line of him saying, you need to break up with Peter to break his heart.
Right,
That
and
was the stupidest
No,
thing,
that's one of
too.
my favorite parts of the
I hate
movie.
it so much. It's so... And you know what? MJ, you know what? Forget her. Like, as soon as he had her do that, she could have gotten on the phone and been like, Peter, by the way, he turned back into the hobgoblin, and we're having a problem here. He was... This could have been solved so easily. It's so irritating.
It is funny that she assumes that Peter couldn't fight him. He won the first fight, but Peter didn't tell her about it. So
And Peter's withholding more stuff, even though she knows he's Spider-Man.
And I agree.
He was a horrible boyfriend in this movie.
I agree.
So
And
bad.
that's
I wrote
part of
that
his
so many
character.
times, and I know
He
you
needed
think
to
it's
learn.
a good thing that he was a bad boyfriend to show.
Well, let's be real. It was his first real girlfriend.
Yeah.
Peter, let's be
I
realistic
know.
about this.
I
Peter
know.
is a nerd.
Yes.
He doesn't know.
Nerds cannot get girlfriends, is what John's telling everyone.
I am a
right
nerd,
now.
but let's just say that. Let me just tell you personally. I had to learn how to not be an idiot boyfriend. I think that's every guy has to go through that process. So it was very relatable, and that's what Peter was always supposed to be. He was always supposed to be relatable, and that's what was so great about.
That's what's great
Tobey
about
Maguire's
Spider-Man.
Peter Parker,
By the
in my
way,
opinion.
I don't know if this is getting too much away from what your topic is right now. But honestly, if we're going, because I talked about Harry, James Franco as him, I don't like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. I think he's a good Peter Parker, but I hate him as Spider-Man.
That's a common thing. I don't understand why people always say that, but go ahead and explain.
Okay. I'll tell you why, because he's awkward as Peter Parker, like you've said. So
Right.
I can't acknowledge that he is an awkward, nerdy guy that
Right.
did have a hard time finally getting
he
the girl.
played that part.
He
Classic
played it pretty
comic
well,
book
and
Peter.
and very kind of quiet and kind of not sure what to say all the time. But when he's Spider-Man, and I haven't read a lot of Spider-Man comics. I've read some, and just from what I know from that and from the old TV shows that I've seen, Spider-Man's supposed to be a little cocky, as Spider-Man. He's supposed to shoot some one-liners, some quips. He's supposed to be the person he wishes he could be, which he can't be as Peter Parker in front of everybody. He kind of gets to let himself loose because he's under the mask. Nobody knows who he is. He can be who he wants to be as Spider-Man. I felt that Tobey Maguire played Spider-Man as Peter Parker, as the same thing. He didn't really give a lot of one-liners, and I'm not just saying this for this movie. All 3 movies I felt like this. I can only remember him giving one funny one-liner, and that was in the first movie. And that was whenever he was trying to shut up J. Jonah Jameson for something he had said, and I remember that being funny. I can't remember any other time where I thought, oh, Spider-Man's being funny right now, or oh, he's really talking smack with the bad guys right now. I don't really recall a lot of that, or him making it, like a different kind of persona.
Okay,
because
so
that's
people,
what it's supposed to be like.
people say this a lot, but and I'll agree that the trilogy itself does not focus on that part of Peter
It's more about
/ Spider-Man's
Peter Parker
character.
than Spider-Man.
They don't go into what the comics did, which is Spider-Man is a persona of someone who couldn't be.
Yeah, exactly.
But they don't deal with that, and I'll agree.
And I don't.
But
like
they
that.
don't have to exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
now I'm not a purist in all senses, but he did say one-liners throughout the whole series.
Not good ones.
Maybe not, and
they were
they
lamely
cranked it up
talked.
in the newest movies to where I thought he thought it was more important to
You're
say a
talking-
joke than in the.
You're talking about
new
the
movies.
ones with
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, they cranked up the jokes so much in those movies that it was more important to him to tell a joke than to save the day. Like in the first opening scene of the second one of the newest movies.
Yeah, I know what
like
you're
a
talking
bunch
about.
of people die in that car chase
Yeah, that's not
when
a
he's
good
just
movie
telling
either.
jokes. Now I agree that's not a good movie, but the point
first
is
one's
there
pretty
should
good.
be a happy middle ground, right?
Exactly.
But-
I was saying, okay, like I said, Tobey Maguire, how I feel with him with Spider-Man, Peter Parker, it's the opposite for Andrew Garfield. I feel like he did a poor Peter Parker, but I
Right.
thought he was a really good Spider-Man.
Sure.
So yeah,
All I'm
like what
trying
you're
to-
saying, they need to find a middle ground, which I hope this new guy, I forget his
I hope
name.
so too. But all I'm
But-
trying to say is I believe people are, because of the newest movies, they're doing a little bit of revisionist history. They're blotting out all the funny jokes or all the one-liners the other Spider-Man said, and they're saying that, well, Tobey Maguire, they make it all black and white. Tobey Maguire was a good Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield was a good
Yeah,
Spider-Man.
that's what I just
they were
said
both
right now.
okay in both roles, is what I'm trying to say. And this revisionist history where Spider-Man in the original trilogy wasn't a good Spider-Man, I think that's just a huge disservice to the whole trilogy. Because the movies are called Spider-Man, and
They should have
were
named
great
him Peter
movies.
Parker. That's what they should have named the movies then, because that's what they were about. They were more about Peter Parker than they were Spider-Man, I feel like.
But Peter Parker is Spider-Man. That's how all the comics are.
is,
And I mean,
But they didn't show
this
it as
isn't-
much.
this
Him
isn't
as
like
Spider-Man.
Batman, where the true
It's
Bruce
not?
Wayne is Batman, and then Bruce Wayne is a persona. Peter Parker has always been Peter Parker, whether he's in the mask or out of the mask.
Okay, but when he's in the mask, he gets to really
Sure,
be who he
but
wants
this
to
trilogy
be.
didn't deal with it. Didn't just decided
Didn't
not to
have that.
focus on that.
I know, they didn't have that. And you're okay with that. I'm not. And
Right,
a lot
okay.
of other people are not okay with that either.
Okay, so how did
So-
we get on this rant?
Your rant about...
No, you started it.
I did start it a little bit, and then, yeah. So, yeah,
I
that's
think
how
we're
I
talking
kind
about
of felt. And then also, since we're talking about actors at the moment, I also didn't care for, what's her name? Kristen Dunst as MJ. Like, when I go back and watch these, it's been a while since I'd seen them, but I thought that, like I said, that a lot of her scenes, not all of them, but a lot of them were kind of phoned in. I didn't feel like they were that great. I remember...
I feel that way about the other movies, not the third one,
Really?
actually. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm the opposite. Surprise, surprise.
I
And then we're missing another. Oh, go ahead.
I think
What?
we can both agree Gwen Stacy's terrible.
Oh yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah, I did not like Gwen Stacy. And by the way, I didn't understand this at the beginning of the movie. Her introduction is her in class, beating Peter to the answer in class, making her seem smart. Halfway through the movie, when they're at that dinner date and Gwen Stacy shows up, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm her partner. She's not very smart. She needs a lot of help." He says that to MJ. He's like, "She's not that great in class. I have to help her with all this stuff."
Right. It doesn't
and
make
she
sense.
even makes
But that you
mention
said you
to
wouldn't
it.
get into nitpicky stuff.
I said I wasn't going to nitpick on stuff that I said I'd bring up stuff that I haven't heard before, really.
Okay.
So I haven't heard anybody talk about that before, where it's contradictory in the plot, and her whole character was just kind of ridiculous.
Her character was
there
a
to
plot
make
device.
MJ feel like.
Yeah, she was a plot
useless.
device. And she shouldn't
wasn't
have
a
been
real
called
character.
Gwen Stacy.
No,
she
they
should have
could have
just
named
been
her.
some.
They could have named her a background person number 1. By the way, I was watching this, the people in the background even acted like they knew this movie sucked. Because some of them in the background, there was literally a woman when Spider-Man came in. You can't see this, but a woman went like this. Like that, exactly. Like she tilted her head back and forth, like with the stupidest look on her face, and then kind of did a robot move in the air with her hands. And the people around her were doing the same. Anyway, yeah, just a little bit of a tangent there. I was like, even the people in the background are hating this. I'm like, my goodness.
Whoa. Okay, so we've gone off on a lot of these characters.
Yeah, there's a couple missing here.
We talked about Harry for a little bit.
Yeah.
We have differing opinions. What do you think about the Harry and Peter fight at the mansion?
I think I wrote about that, and
that's one of my favorite scenes.
I didn't like it.
Of course. No, because it's this great rivalry, and they have such great smack talk with one another.
Really?
Because I protected you in high school.
I think I laughed, actually.
It's supposed to be funny.
It's so comic book corny, and that's what these movies
All
are
these
kind of
movies
like.
were.
Yeah,
But
I know
that's
they were comic book corny,
but since when does that have to be such a bad thing?
it doesn't always have to be a bad thing, but their lines were so bad that I think I started laughing.
You're
I think that
supposed
was
to
the
laugh.
scene where, but not in a good laugh. I was laughing like, this is so stupid.
No.
Yeah,
I love that whole scene. And then it ends with a gut punch. Everybody in the theater just gasped when Harry blows up.
Well, I guess. I don't remember people gasping in my movie theater. I think everybody was like, yay, he died. Oh, no, he didn't. He's back.
No, everybody loved Harry. I loved Harry.
Really?
See, there's all this revisionist history. When these movies came out, we loved them. What happened? It's like we're too sophisticated now.
I liked the first one. I remember really liking it when I was younger.
Sure.
Now when I look back on it, like watching them, I'm like, yeah, they're not my favorite now, but I really liked them then. And then I don't ever remember really loving the third one. And I was okay on the second one. But
Well, I mean, most people hated the third one as soon as it came out. I'm not talking about the third one per se. But it's just since the Amazing Spider-Man movies, I feel like there's just been a lot of revisionist history where people are like trying to push this Spider-Man trilogy, off the bus when it did so much for the superhero genre. When no other superhero movies were coming out.
Stuff on the map, yeah. I mean, and you know what? There were flaws in the remakes that they did with Andrew Garfield too. So,
all right, so
nothing's perfect.
We mentioned Harry. And I wanted to say about Sandman just really quick. I think his character was serviceable and fine. Could have been better. Could have been much worse.
Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. I just told you when I was younger, when that first movie came out, I loved that movie. Putting Sandman in here was basically them rewriting that first movie. Because they're throwing in this plot where he is the one who... Spoilers, by the way.
This whole movie, this whole thing is spoilers.
No, but somebody's like, oh, you said he died. Oh, no. He kills Uncle Ben.
Okay, I thought that was stupid.
I didn't like it
I hated that, too.
I hated
I agree.
it.
I'm not talking about that.
What part?
I hated that.
And I didn't like the whole relationship with his daughter either. He didn't have a relationship with his daughter. That whole plot was stupid too.
Okay, we'll get into that in a second. But
what do you like about him?
Well, let me address it was stupid that they rewrote Uncle Ben dying and they said no, it was Sandman all along. That was stupid and unnecessary.
It was only there to make Peter want to have a reason to kill Sandman.
Exactly. They could have found another way to make Peter really want revenge. Maybe somebody could have died in that car chase, and Peter could have really wanted revenge. I don't know.
Kill Aunt May. My goodness. Why go back and rewrite Uncle Ben's death?
No, but either way, I agree that's stupid. But but him as a villain wasn't bad. In fact, you cannot say anything bad about the scene when he was created. Now, I don't mean when he's in the thing and it's spinning around. Of course, there was some stupid stuff. Maybe it's a bird or it'll fly away. Yeah, of course, everybody mentions how stupid that is. But that scene when a man comes out of the sand and he tries to grab his locket.
That's about the only time I feel sympathy.
That's goosebumps.
Not goosebumps, but I feel sympathy for him. I'm like, oh man, he can't pick it up, and then 2 seconds later he learns how to pick it up. So I was like, oh well, okay. I guess he didn't suffer that much.
But see, you read it all wrong in my opinion, because that's the moment when that's supposed to show us that his motivation to save his daughter is strong enough for him to do whatever it is necessary. And that's what gave him the strength
Escaping
to stand,
prison
to
all that
form
wasn't enough?
his human self. The only thing that gave him strength was the locket. He had to grab that locket. He had to go save his daughter.
I feel like he reformed and then realized the locket was over there. I don't think he was like, I've got to get the locket and reform.
No. You see it in his face. You see it in the whole performance.
I felt a little bit of emotion when he went to grab it and he couldn't pick it up. I feel like if he couldn't have still picked it up and he still couldn't form himself, I would have felt more sympathy for him, but not like
right. But then he couldn't be a Spider-Man villain
later. No, he could have learned how to, build himself up a little bit, more into the movie or something. But they had to get him right out of the gate and get him into the fighting.
And the whole movie is rushed. Yeah, sure.
So they had to get him, but I feel like they probably, if they really wanted to milk the sympathy there, they should have given him time to learn how to reform himself. Because, you're like, oh man, he can't pick up that lock. How sad. That's the only thing he has of his daughter. Oh, okay. He's formed himself like 5 seconds later, and he just picked it up and he walked out just fine.
Well, like I said, it's the motivator. It's what makes him able to do what is necessary. But anyway, let's go into the one that I know everybody hates the most.
Is there another villain here?
Yeah, Eddie Brock.
Okay.
I'm not a comic book purist.
Hate him, yes.
I never even heard of Eddie Brock.
So
I didn't know anything about him.
You hate him, right?
No.
You hate that man.
Listen,
if you don't hate him,
Let me give a defense that I haven't heard people talk about this.
All right.
But now,
bad actor choice.
I would probably
Do you agree
with
that. Okay. That's my main problem is the actor.
Okay, I like the actor. I don't know if he's right for this role. Now, here's the thing. Like I said...
No, that's what I mean. I don't mind him in other things.
Right,
I just didn't think he was good as Venom.
Sure. Well, but here's the thing. Let me just preface by saying I'm not a comic book purist. I didn't need to have a football player, Eddie Brock, or whatever it was.
Neither did I.
Whatever he is in the comics. But here's what they were trying to do, and I think they were somewhat successful. Okay?
All right.
In superhero comics, there are several types of villains. One of which is the polar opposite. For instance, Batman and Joker, they're the complete opposites.
The foil.
Superman or Lex Luthor, yes, the foil. That's what it's called. With Spider-Man, it's harder to find a foil. You don't really have a polar opposite, except maybe Green Goblin.
Bug spray. I just solved all their problems. There's your foil.
Okay, but in comic books, there's also the Dark Mirror villain. And that is a villain who is very similar to the hero, but is the dark version. For instance, in the Dark Knight trilogy, that was Ra's al Ghul / Bane, okay, in the first and third movie. And in Superman, that's kind of like Doomsday, in that it's all that power, but unleashed, whereas Superman is all about control. And now I know there's an argument to say Bizarro was also Dark Mirror. Of course, there are multiple. There are multiple of these. Now with Spider-Man, his Dark Mirror has always been Venom.
Yeah.
Because it's obvious, right? He is a black-suited Spider-Man that fights him with the same types of powers. Now, what they decided to do was make Eddie Brock a dark mirror of Peter Parker. He's a cameraman. He's a nerd. He doesn't really know how to react in situations, but whenever he faces a situation between right and wrong, he chooses the wrong path. Whereas Peter generally chooses the right path. Once again, it goes back to the theme. Are you going to be the best you or the worst you? So when you consider the theme of the movie, and we consider this aspect of how villain is a dark mirror of Spider-Man, Eddie Brock is the dark mirror of Peter Parker.
Okay.
And I think that they were successful in that. In fact, there are scenes throughout the movie where it'll show Peter taking pictures of MJ, and then it'll cut to another part of the square, and there is Eddie Brock taking pictures of Gwen Stacy. It's the dark mirror, and there are multiple scenes like that where it continues to emphasize this point that they are different versions, two sides of the same coin, where what would happen if, because Peter Parker, he's a great guy, right? He's a good man, a good boy whenever he first gets his powers.
Yeah.
But Eddie Brock, it's like, what if somebody got these powers who wouldn't respond well to them?
Well, I know that they did that. Do I think they did it well?
I think they did.
I don't
Except maybe the
think
actor
so.
choice isn't the best.
I thought the actor choice was very poor. I mean, he had like a boy band haircut that you just have a hard time looking away from. It's weird, especially since boy bands were not popular during the third one. And then just Topher Grace in general, I don't know why they cast him as Venom. I don't know what he did in the audition room that made them think that this is the guy that's going to play the dark mirror of Spider-Man, Venom. I didn't find him as evil as he could have been. They could have gone darker with his character, and I would have appreciated it more. I even wrote down when I was watching this that if you want a good story arc of Venom, watch the Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yes, and I will agree. It's a better version.
Better.
But they took some things straight from the movie, so you got to give the movie some credit.
They took a lot of stuff straight out of the comics
But
too.
Well, then the movies did too. The movie did too. Now I'll say some of my favorite parts of this movie are when Peter is being influenced by the symbiote, and like seeing this great guy that we love turning dark. Now, obviously, the dancing is terrible. But there's so much more. Like if you look,
Terrible
if you just,
doesn't take time.
If you could just watch,
It's not enough words.
If you could just watch the montage without the dancing, the montage is great. It's funny.
No.
It's showing his character change. You see
No.
J. Jonah Jameson reacting to this new Peter in town. It's this wonderful montage, but the dancing is all people can see.
No, I saw all of it. It was all bad.
No, that's the dancing talking.
No, I'm not talking about just the dancing. Dancing isn't bad. It's horrific. So, I'm saying that the montage, I even wrote it down. I'm like, montage is bad. Right next to emo Peter. Why is he dancing? Like when he dances on the street for no reason.
No, but at least the people who
bad.
pass him on the street
Like, give him a
also
look
find it
like,
horrendous.
What? Those are those background people I'm talking about that just were like, what are we
It was
even
supposed
doing?
to be horrendous. That's the point.
It
It's
is-
nerdy Peter
yeah,
thinking
okay.
he's cool.
I
Now,
know,
I think they went too
but-
far, and they shouldn't have done it.
They
but
very much did.
I understood why they did it.
They didn't come. They didn't succeed at what they were trying to do.
Sure.
They tried something and it didn't work. Everybody
Their ambition,
hated it.
I admire the ambition.
And that, and trying to pull him off as a jerk, it does come off as him as a jerk because I mean he's really mean to his neighbor, and
he manipulates
cruel and
all of them.
manipulative
Yeah.
and all of that. But some of the stuff they put in the montage is just laughable and horrific, in the sense of, oh, I'm so glad we get to watch Evil Peter shopping and Evil Peter's dancing in the streets and Evil Peter. It's just. Evil Peter changed his hair, so we know he's evil now. It's just,
Anyway, we got onto that because I was talking about Topher Grace's Venom,
Yeah.
and the number one complaint I always hear about Venom is that he's barely in the movie, and in my opinion,
Venom is barely in the movie.
Well, in my opinion, the symbiote side of it attaching to Peter has always been the more interesting story.
That's
for me.
fine if they had done it more like Spectacular Spider-Man. If you've never seen a Spectacular Spider-Man, I definitely suggest doing it.
Those several episodes
Even
are phenomenal.
John
I'll agree
will
with
say
that.
to watch it. But
they took a lot from the movie.
Comparing that to the movie, that TV show did it way better.
Well, I think how much people love that TV. I'm assuming people love that, and I loved it.
A lot of people like that TV show.
I think that shows how many
least
people
those who
would
have seen
like
it.
Spider-Man 3 if
they hadn't
it hadn't
gone
been
that
for
way.
the dancing and for some of the other silly
If
stuff.
they had done more of the choices that they made in the TV show,
Right.
I think I would have appreciated it
and
more.
see, I saw through that stuff.
I did not.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the last biggest villain in this whole piece, Bernard, the butler. And by the way, it's not Bernard. I listened to them pronounce that name several times. It's Bernard. He is the true villain of this piece. Because he is the one who knew what happened the whole time to the dad and doesn't decide to come clean about it until the very end of the movie. By the way, sir, your father killed himself. Bye. I'm summing up what he said. But he kept that to himself that whole time. It's more of that lack of communication. They purposely had that lack of communication throughout the whole movie, and it was very annoying to a point. Like, I could understand a little bit, but He had Peter and Harry had the lack of communication, which made Harry think that Peter killed his dad. And finally, Peter, when they're fighting in midair, I didn't kill your dad. It's like, come on, dude, you waited way too late to be telling him that. And then finally, when Peter does get it out, Harry gets amnesia, so it doesn't matter. He doesn't remember anyway. And for some reason, he can remember high school, but he can't remember his dad very much. I don't get that. He even says that. And so...
No, he couldn't remember the days leading up to his dad's death.
No, he said in another scene, he's like, I wish I remembered more of my dad. And I'm like, what?
I think he meant like later in post-college, or I mean post-high school, but I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. The way he said it made me think, oh, he doesn't remember a lot about him. He remembers some of them, but not a lot. And I'm thinking, but you remember specific events of high school? I was like, okay. Anyway, that's just
I'm not going to defend Bernard.
Bernard was a horrible, evil villain who, and then he sees all this taking place, and he goes to Harry, and he's like, you know what, Harry, I think we should finally just come clean about this. Yeah, your dad was totally evil, and it's his own fault he died. That's when Harry finally decides to go help. He didn't have a turn of heart before that. He was like, oh, so Peter didn't really kill my dad. Well, I guess we're buddies then. Let me go help him.
Right, I agree, that could have been done better, but I enjoyed seeing them together.
But Bernard, horrible villain.
Okay, so... We've talked a lot about character.
And I will...
probably gone too far with it.
Yeah, I know. Character's a lot to do with the movie, but I want to say, I went into this saying I would find something good in it. I did mention how I did like Aunt May. I think my favorite speech from her was in Spider-Man 2, though, when she's talking about what a superhero means to people and how it uplifts people. And that's like one of my favorite speeches she ever gives in any of the movies. But this one, she had some good moments, too.
Did.
I didn't find anything bad about her in this.
Yeah, she was understated. Not,
she would show up.
She was barely used, and she would show up, and then she would make you remember that things didn't always have to be so bad, and she gave you a little bit of hope.
Yeah, a little bit of hope. That. So she was okay. I was cool with J. Jonah Jameson. That guy is J. Jonah Jameson. He does a very good job of him.
Yeah, he was funny as ever.
He's very funny. Some of the jokes were kind of but for the most part they were funny. And then the other one, you always expect the cameo from Bruce Campbell.
He was great. That whole scene
I actually laughed at one of his jokes, and I was like, that was a joke I was supposed to laugh at, and I laughed at it in this movie whenever he's like, I'm French, out of nowhere. Like, they're talking about something else, and he keeps trying to pull off this whole French accent, and just out of nowhere, he's like, by the way, I'm French. I was like, okay, that's pretty funny. Those were and then I also forgot how, like, the Spider-Man theme song, I believe Danny Elfman did it.
Oh, of course.
At the beginning. I was like, that's right, Spider-Man did have a theme song for a little while.
And that is I think that's one of the greatest, it's the greatest Marvel theme song ever.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but I thought it was really
what's
good.
Better?
Really? You want to talk about
what Marvel theme is better? I mean, just a quick question.
I think anytime I hear the Iron Man song, I think of Iron Man. I would have to sit and think about some of the other ones, but whenever I think of Marvel theme songs, Spider-Man's not the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
All right.
So, and I think that's once again revisionist history. No. Anyway.
You and your revisionist history.
Okay. Well, I want to defend what I said at the beginning. I said this is my favorite Spider-Man movie. I want to make sure it's understood why. Because this is a flawed movie. It has a lot of problems, a lot of stupid moments that I wish weren't in it. But the moments I loved, I really, really loved.
I think you really do. You seem pretty passionate about it.
Have I defended that enough? I love
know.
what they were going for. I love the ambition to it.
You have to love it to come on to,
publicly
say that you loved it.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. This is not me. I'm not going to get any more popular for saying I love this movie. But I do. I do love this movie because I think even though there were many, many flaws, I always thought that the moments between the characters where everything came to a head. And sure, there was some goofy stuff, and sure, there was goofy stuff throughout the whole original trilogy. But you got closure to so many of those things they set up in the first two movies.
I didn't feel like there was closure at all. In fact, when the end of the movie came and it went to the credits, I said, that's how they ended it.
That's a
Because I
beautiful
completely
ending.
forgot that that's how they ended it. With more dancing?
Yes!
More dancing ended the stupid movie.
It's a beautiful ending.
It was. Okay.
I love the dance at the end.
All right.
Because it shows you not everything's perfect.
So,
And they're still going to have issues, but they know that they want to be together. And that
you
choice...
got all of that out of that dance?
Yes. There's so much subtext to this movie. And not
I think
like,
you're adding a lot of subtext to this movie.
There's more than people give it credit for.
That's because you're adding your own stuff to it. You're like, this
these
really
themes,
means this and this and this.
These themes are easily visible. I'm telling you.
Easily.
Yes.
And how come
the idea
everybody
of
hates
choosing
it?
to be... Because people only see the dancing. Or they only see the...
I love how you... Because only people see the dancing. There was like 5 dances in that movie.
Yes. And it's terrible. But... That's all people can see when there's a glaring negative. And to be honest, and we're not going to get into the Batman v Superman, I feel like it's the same thing with Batman v Superman.
Please let's not bring that up because I hate that movie even more than this.
And I love that movie.
I know.
But people...
That's why we're at odds, John.
Yeah, I tend to view movies differently than most people, apparently.
And I tend to hate a lot of movies.
And yes, that's true. But I don't know. I enjoy ambition. And I when I see what they were going for, even if they stumbled along the way, I appreciate it so much more than a movie that played it safe the whole time. Now, they didn't play it safe with Spider-Man 3. They could have. They could have cashed it in, but they didn't. And that's what I appreciate about Batman v Superman and so forth, a lot of movies. But a lot of people would rather a movie play it safe and not have so many flaws.
You don't always have to play it safe. You just have to make sure your flaws that you try or what you put in there has a payoff. Because I feel like there wasn't enough payoff.
I feel like there was.
So
I mean,
that's the problem. So, was there anything else about characters you wanted to go over? Anything about the Stan Lee cameo? You told me before that you didn't like it. I actually liked it.
Well, it would have been fine if this was the only one in the Marvel movies. But I feel like, first of all, I don't know if this was the first one. I think it was.
For what? For him to make a cameo?
For
Unless
all
the
Fantastic
Spider-Man
Four
movies
came first.
His first cameo was in X-Men. He did in the very first X-Men
Well,
movie.
either way, it felt forced, and it was fine, but there's something weird about... It takes you out of the movie, I guess, is what it is, but
well, I guess
it was fine.
I felt like, because the quote he says, I even wrote it down, because I was like, oh, yeah, go Stan Lee. He says, I guess one person can make a difference. I feel like when he said that, I felt like he was not only talking about Spider-Man, I felt like he was talking about himself.
Right, and, Stan Lee, he loves himself. He's arrogant, and he does that.
Oh, my goodness. I can't believe you just said that.
Why do you think he wants to be in every movie? Because he's in love with himself.
You're picking on a poor old man. My goodness. Oh.
Well, either way.
I think he's a
Stan Lee
pretty good guy. You know what? Who is arrogant between him and the guy who created Batman? I watched a documentary about the two of them hanging out, and my goodness.
Bob Kane is not the only guy that created Batman. That's true.
Okay, yeah, but that guy,
and that's why but he's the only one.
He was pretty arrogant.
He was,
a lot more than Stan Lee. So, but
whoa, I don't know about that.
Oh yeah, from what I saw on the anyway, let's get away from that. The reason why I liked that was because Stan Lee did make a difference. My goodness, look at all the stuff he created for Marvel.
Right.
I mean,
sure.
You can't fault the guy for that. He gave you Spider-Man.
Yeah,
he gave us Fantastic Four, X-Men, so much stuff. I feel like he was saying not only did he make a difference, but anybody watching this could make a difference.
Sure.
Anyone. Spider-Man made a difference. Even when he was down in the depths in the last 2 movies, even though he's risen, he's saying anybody can do that.
Yeah, and that's a nice line. What I didn't like was when he said, "Enough said."
Why?
It just felt so forced.
Oh, well, kind of like the rest of the characters in this movie.
Like, here's Stan Lee.
Everybody else said their lines pretty forced. Why not him?
Here's Stan Lee. He's made an appearance. He could just say, I guess one man can make a difference, and walk away. And maybe, just maybe, we'll pretend he was just a random passerby.
Come on, you just
But then he says, "Enough said," as if he's ending a speech for all to know, hey, here's Stan Lee. It takes you out of the movie.
You just said he was arrogant. My goodness, now you're mad because he was acting like you thought he would?
Yeah, that's what makes me mad at Stan Lee. His arrogance.
Anyway, I didn't see any problem with him saying "enough said."
Anyway, the line itself takes you out of the movie, in my opinion.
Yeah,
anyway,
that was okay with me. I didn't really like the movie, so it helped me there for a few seconds to get out of it. I appreciated his line.
but anyway, that's a nitpick.
All right. So I think that covers most of the characters
Yes,
there.
we've done enough with the
enough
characters.
character. Let's talk about those stupid writing.
Well, I think we've
We
dealt
did
with a
go over
lot of
some
the
of
plot
it.
structure.
A lot of the plot structure.
I think plot structure and execution were the worst parts of this movie, because like I said, I love the character moments. I just think that the plot. I think they had so many ideas they wanted to get through, and the only way to do it was to have a broken down plot, which
Okay.
I agree is problematic.
So we did go over a lot of plot, but there was one or two things that we didn't touch on that I did want to bring up that I don't remember hearing people really complain about, and you were complaining about the newer movies, and when I say newer, Andrew Garfield movies. I didn't like Gwen Stacy's father either.
Oh yeah, he was terrible.
His character, I know that he was
Like I
barely
said.
in it, but my goodness, when he was in it and the police did nothing at all.
Yeah.
They would be like, "Where's Spider-Man? He needs to take care of all this." Whereas in the newer ones, I feel like the police actually went out there and did stuff, their jobs. In these movies, they were crowd control. And they just waited for Spider-Man to do it. And I'm not just talking about the big villain I'm not faulting the guys for not trying to fight Sandman, but I mean, come on, they could have shot a few bullets, my goodness.
Well, they did.
I don't remember
You see
them trying to
the whole
take him
SWAT
on.
team get taken down.
Really? Was there a
Yeah.
SWAT team that actually tried to go in and
Yeah.
stop him? Okay, well then good for them. But whenever there was the whole scene with Gwen Stacy modeling, I don't know where that came from, why she was a model. But
Well, okay, let's get.
when that building gets torn apart by some maniac with the
No.
I know it wasn't the guy, but he's just standing there. He's like, "It's out of control," and he's just got his arms in the air, like, "What?" I'm like, "Dude, get out of it. If it's not working, somebody needs to go shut it down." Nobody tries to shut that thing down. It just goes crazy. Totally takes out like 2 floors of that building. What did the police do? They stood downstairs and watched. You don't see police trying to get up there to try to help save people.
Right.
They stand there and wait, and there's civilians almost getting killed in the street by debris.
Yeah.
No. Police don't do anything.
I have
Mr.
no
Stacy,
argument against any of this. And I think he was
Gwen's
terrible.
dad shows
In
up,
fact,
he didn't do nothing either.
and he finds out his daughter's up there. He's like,
he
"Oh,
was like,
that
"Oh,
stinks."
okay." And the same thing for Eddie, the guy that
Yeah.
plays it. He was like, "Oh, that's my girlfriend," even though they weren't even girlfriend and boyfriend. He lied.
Yeah.
I figured that out later. I was like, "Oh, so he's a liar too." He was like, "Oh, by the way, that's my girlfriend." Click, click with my picture. And the dad's like, "Oh, that's my daughter." I'm like, "Man, that poor girl. No wonder she doesn't know if she's smart or stupid. She's got these guys that
No
don't
one
even know."
cares.
So I had a problem with that.
I have
and
no
then,
argument against that. He shouldn't have been in the movie,
Yeah.
just like she shouldn't have been Gwen Stacy. Then you wouldn't have had to bring in the father.
Exactly.
Uh,
I have another issue with that scene too. And
Is this nitpicky?
No. This happens throughout the movie. Spider-Man. I wrote this down. Does Peter care about saving anyone he doesn't personally know? Is how I felt whenever he would go into these situations. He went into that situation. He's like, saved Gwen. There were 2 other people falling off of that
No,
thing.
there
You
weren't.
don't see them fall because, of course, they can't do that because they can't make Spider-Man look bad. But when you look back at that scene when she's falling and she grabs the telephone, there were 2 other people sliding down that thing. One was further down than she was. And
Okay,
then
I missed that.
she falls and Spider-Man shows up, saves her, puts her on the ground, has this little turf war with Eddie, and then he swings off. I'm like, "Dude, what about that crane up there that's going crazy? Who's stopping that? It's not the police officers."
Kind of like the moment in The Dark Knight when
Oh.
Batman's like, "Are you okay?" to Rachel after they got out of the party. She's like, "Let's not do that again." He's like, "Okay." She's like, "You're gonna go up there?" He's like, no.
No, I'm not gonna go save them.
Any movie has stuff like that. I
That
think that's a little
bothered
bit
me
nitpicky.
a little bit.
But
No, that's not a little nitpicky. That issue goes through the whole movie because when he goes later and he's listening to the police scanners to try to find Sandman, there's people getting all these horrible things happening. He's like, "No, I'm not going to go help all
That's
these people because
him
I'm waiting for
choosing
Sandman."
to be the person he shouldn't be.
This was before the symbiote attached himself to him,
and it amplified these terrible tendencies.
And he was being a poor Spider-Man.
That's the point.
And so he sits there and
He
he's
has
like,
to learn.
"Forget all of them. I'm just going after Sandman." And so he only went and did stuff when it really helped himself or somebody he knew personally. And even like in the last battle, why did he show up? MJ's in trouble. Let's see him save some other people besides people he knows personally.
Well, that's the whole problem with Spider-Man in general. Let's be real. Every villain is someone he knows from high school or from
Every villain?
something or other. Yeah,
He doesn't know Sandman.
Pretty much every villain.
didn't know
He has a
Sandman.
connection in this movie, which
That's
I think is
because
stupid.
they forced it.
No, I agree.
Oh.
I agree. But that's the main problem with Spider-Man in general. Spectacular Spider-Man, the show, did the same thing where everyone was from the same lab. Okay, that's just a problem Spider-Man has, is that all those villains and all the characters...
Every single villain, though, in the Spectacular Spider-Man. Like,
No,
Chameleon
okay, I'm not saying
or...
100%. I'm
Calm
saying
down, John,
it's
calm
a
down.
problem. Well, it's like you're taking everything I say to the
Out of
nth
context?
degree.
Out of context?
Yes.
I don't
Anyway.
think I am.
My point is, this is a problem I have with Spider-Man in general, is that he knows all his villains and they know him, or he knows all the victims and they know him, and so forth. And that's just something that you got, like, that's just a problem that Spider-Man deals with, okay?
I felt it more in this one. And that kind of bothered me, and that's another reason why I didn't really care for his character.
Yeah, I'd say that's a writing problem. Sure.
Yeah, it is a writing problem. So, yeah.
Okay, so I'll look you.
I didn't know if you wanted to... I was, like, waiting for you to be like, add this and this and this. And so...
Let's talk about the ending.
I think I only had one or two other problems.
I think the action scene is great, and you know what? We've missed out. We haven't talked about any of the action scenes. In my personal opinion, other than the train fight in Spider-Man 2, this is the greatest action of the Spider-Man trilogy. Okay, it's also some of the greatest visual effects, and these are things we always pass by. Now I know it's not all about visual effects, but it is important to a Spider-Man movie.
Okay.
Okay, so the action is great. Visual effects are great.
I didn't think the action was horrible, but I don't think it's anything great. I've seen better action.
Well, we're spoiled now, but anyway. Like, when it came out, this was incredible action.
I would say that I have more memorable action scenes in one or two than I did in 3. Like, if you asked me to name an action scene, I'd probably go with the Green Goblin fight at the end of the first movie, or the train
if you go back and
Doc
rewatch.
Ock. But memorable thing, when somebody says remember, what scenes do you remember? I would not have remembered any of the action scenes in number 3. No, that's what you keep going back to. You keep saying all these things that we go back to. You keep going back to the dancing.
Honestly, I think the reason for that is because in the first movie and the second movie, there's like 2 or 3 action scenes in each, whereas this movie has a ton of action scenes, throughout the movie.
3 or 4.
Well, each villain gets at least 2.
Okay.
And there's 3 villains.
That's true, because they did throw
plus the crane scene, plus some other stuff.
The crane scene is its own action scene. I guess so. Yeah.
But anyway,
the crane is another evil
But if you
villain.
go back and you look into each scene, I think they're better made. They're more thrilling. It's just that there's so many. Whereas in the second and the first one, they were more like set piece moments. You know, they moved the plot along better and so forth.
I think they did,
which makes them more memorable.
Better. Yeah.
But either way, I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that this movie has good action and it has good visual effects. But let's talk about the ending real quick.
Okay.
I love the ending.
I don't.
Except that they kept cutting back to the crowd, which I thought was stupid, and back to the reporter saying,
"Oh yeah,
and
I
she's
didn't
like,
that.
I'm going to narrate everything in my accent, and I'm going to say how terrible we're all feeling instead of just seeing how terrible everybody."
She was annoying.
It was very annoying.
That. I didn't write it down, but I thought that
it was great to see them in such dire straits. See Peter, you didn't think Peter could even get out of this situation, and then Harry comes saves the day. But anyway. I liked the action scene itself. There's a very thrilling moment where he falls off the building and his hands are glued to his chest by the black webbing that Venom just spread on him. And he's trying to rip his hands out so he can catch himself before he falls. And it's a very thrilling moment where he finally gets through.
I don't even remember that.
Well, you weren't watching at this point. The dancing had blinded you.
It was the dancing the whole time. It was dancing's the true villain.
That's right.
Bernard. Not only did he set up that crane to destroy that building, but he also made sure everybody danced in this movie.
Film theory.
Yeah.
Bernard is the guy behind the scenes.
Did everything. I honestly didn't remember that scene. I thought the action was okay, I guess, in the last scene. There was nothing in it that I was like, whoa, but there's nothing in there where I was like, oh, that's terrible. Maybe just catching MJ again. I get sick of him having to catch her all the time. No, my problem comes like after the action finishes.
Right.
I have more of a problem with. I mean, I remember when I first went and saw it, I was kind of surprised that they killed James Franco. But nowadays, I can be like, yeah, I understand. I get it.
It was a good conclusion to his character.
I didn't feel like he had too much of a significant stuff. I mean, yeah.
He saved him. He saved.
I guess
Peter.
he
That was
saved
nice.
Peter. That was nice of you, buddy. Thanks for dying for me. Yeah, yeah. But my problem was more after he died, and Spider-Man has to talk with Sandman.
Yeah, that was stupid. Once again, that shouldn't have
that
been in the movie.
talk, and then Sandman leaves, and Peter just is like,
I know.
okay, well he left.
He's
I'm like,
"All right,
no.
you're gonna go steal
I'm
stuff."
like, he just went and even though he cares about his daughter, that's great. But he went and robbed all these places. He killed your uncle, even though he's sorry for it. So are a lot of people who are in prison. Some people are sorry that they did stuff, or at least were caught and are in prison. This guy should have said, "Okay, take me to prison," and that would have been better. He should have gone back to prison.
I think that would have been much better,
and not have left
but
to go rob more banks to try to save his daughter's
And
life.
they could have still had the moment where Peter says, "I forgive you," which was what they were going for with his plot.
That's
so
what-
I agree with that.
Yeah, that bothered me. Oh, also, I didn't understand why Gwen and her father were at James Franco's funeral. I was confused.
Were
by
they?
That. Yes, they were. They
okay.
were sitting there, and she's sitting there right next to the coffin in the front row, like she knew him really well. And her father's standing there next to her, and Peter's standing a little ways off and sees her. And I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to get that closure moment between him and her.
Right.
But they decided to do it at Harry's funeral, and
Maybe
I'm like,
they
didn't
weren't
even know Harry.
Maybe they weren't at Harry's funeral at all. Maybe it was Eddie Brock's.
It was Eddie Brock's funeral.
Just saying.
Oh my goodness! Why would she? I guess she'd go out of sympathy for her. Pity funeral. It was a pity funeral.
Anyway, I made a note when I saw that.
Yeah.
I said I thought to myself, how many Spider-Man movies end at a graveyard?
Yeah.
All but the second one.
Okay.
All but the second one, including the Amazing Spider-Man movie.
The second Amazing Spider-Man had a funeral at the end, but that wasn't its ending scene.
Well, you know what I mean, like in the
but
final,
it was at the last
final 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I mean.
Okay, yeah.
Because in the Amazing Spider-Man 1, Peter didn't go, but it still ended with, and it's always raining, and there's always black umbrellas.
Yeah, black umbrellas, everybody in black.
Except for the second Amazing Spider-Man. I don't think there were, but...
Nope, didn't rain that day. Not for Gwen.
But anyway,
the good Gwen.
They need to rethink this whole structure.
I'm thinking
5 out of the
somebody going to die at the
movies.
end of Homecoming, Spider-Man Homecoming,
with
a bunch of black umbrellas.
Yep.
With rain.
Anyway,
yes.
I thought that was an interesting note.
All right, and then the last thing I put down was, really, that's how it ended. But we already went over that.
Yeah, I love the ending. Okay,
anything else you needed to...
Let's reach a conclusion here.
Oh, that's right. We have to give the number we think it is.
Right. Now, for those... Well, this is a first-time listener for everybody, because this is our first one.
Yep.
We wanted to make sure that our scores were comparable, so we're both going off the same score system, okay? We're doing this score system out of 10 points. A 10 would be that this movie changed my life. It was so good.
Yeah, that's
okay?
me. No, I'm kidding.
A 9 is it's an amazing movie, probably the best movie of the year. In other words, we're not going to give out many 9s, in this podcast, probably. 8 means it's a great movie. 7 means it's a good movie. Not a really good movie, but a good movie. 6 means it's okay. And then 5 means meh. 4 means it's bad. 3 means it's terrible. 2 means I wanted to shoot myself while watching it. And then number 1 is it personally offended me, as in, on a serious level. So in other words, it's out of 10, and the top 5 are somewhat positive scores. The bottom 5 are somewhat negative scores. So I did my scoring based on individual characteristics, and I have kind of a mathematical formula. I was going to
say, he's got his mathematical formula written down right here. And he doesn't want me to cheat off of it, so he's covering it, even though I've already figured out what my number is.
I didn't want you to see my score till I tell it.
Oh, okay. I didn't even see it. Go ahead.
So, okay. So remember, with these scores, I say it's an 8, which is a great movie. I know that's going to blow people's minds, but this is my favorite Spider-Man movie. And because I believe the good outweighs the bad in so many areas, I think the character stuff is great. The action is the best of the series, and it has some terrible moments that, sadly, for so many, they can't see past those moments, like the dancing. It's a wonderful movie with a lot of wonderful moments, but sadly, it was sloppily done. All right.
So, just curious. I think I know what your answer will be, actually. You like this movie better than the TV show that you watched? Or is it maybe
Better than
on the
Spectacular
same,
Spider-Man?
or on the same level?
I'd say
maybe?
they're on the same level.
Okay.
Oh, okay, no, don't get me wrong. I think this movie is better than most of that TV show, except the Venom stuff in that show.
Oh, okay.
Whereas the Venom stuff was great.
Okay. Yeah, for me, the best Spider-Man stuff I've ever seen was probably Spectacular Spider-Man.
Sure.
Just because they covered a lot of stuff, and I think they actually did the characters pretty well, and they actually took time to get to know them in the way that they really are from the comics. So I know you call people who read them purists, but there's so many different interpretations of characters in so many different kinds of comics.
Well, don't get me wrong. I don't have a vendetta against purists.
Well, no, I didn't.
Because I'm a purist with certain things like Harry
Yeah.
Potter, things like that.
Yeah.
But
I
just
just
not with Spider-Man. I'm not.
feel like I kind of like it better when they try to keep more to the comics myself.
I'm a Batman purist, you could say.
There you go.
Yeah.
He is, believe me. All right. So this changed my life in a negative way. I can't. I'm saying I can't choose 10 because it didn't change my life in a positive way. I would probably have to give it a 3. Terrible.
Okay.
And I didn't do some mathematical equation. I just figured through watching it and the notes that I took, I realized it didn't offend me to the point where other movies have offended me personally. Like I can name only maybe a few movies that have truly offended me that I would give like a 1 or even dig down to a 0. And I can think of a couple in my mind right now, but this one is not it.
Well, in our score system, there is no 0.
Well,
Because they get a point
okay.
for just making a movie.
No. They shouldn't have made the movie in the first place. For a few of them that are out there. And I know there's people that are listening who are like, yeah, there are movies like that. Should never have been made. And I didn't want to shoot myself the first time I watched this. It was okay. And then watching this the other night, there were moments where I was like, oh, can we just get past this? But then I did realize, like when I would check the time, how long the movie had been going, there was actually about 30 minutes of it where I was like, I can't believe that was only 30 minutes. It wasn't that bad. But then again, like I said, there's a few parts where not just a few, there's a lot of parts where I was just like, oh, would it just end already? And like I said, I've already gone all over all the reasons why I felt that way. So I would give it a number 3, a terrible.
So obviously, my goal is for people to go back and rewatch it with maybe a more positive viewpoint. Your goal would be?
My goal would be, if you are going to go back and rewatch it, which I would say if you've never seen it and you watched the other Spider-Man movies, sure, go ahead, finish off the trilogy. I don't know who out there would have only watched the first one and went, I love that movie, but I'm not going to watch any of the others. But if it's been a long time since you've seen it, maybe just watch it for nostalgia's sake and remember all the reasons why you don't watch it very often.
All right. Well,
so there you go.
That's our review for Spider-Man 3. Now, we chose this particular movie because it's probably one of the better movies to give an example of just how differently we feel. But in reality, we feel differently about most movies.
Hopefully you got that from this review. I don't know if you caught that. We didn't agree on this movie, but
I think the astute listeners.
Those who are very good at mathematics, unlike Gwen Stacy, or is she? We don't know.
So that's our podcast, At Odds Movie Reviews. We're going to be doing more of these, hopefully, in the future, and hopefully we'll be getting into more recent movies and movies that are coming out as the year progresses. But for right now, we want to start with that one.
And hopefully in the future, we'll have a way for you to give some feedback, comments. If you have any questions, we can set something up like that. And maybe one of our future podcasts that we do. So thank you for listening. This was Tiffany and...
I'm John. And this was At Odds Movie Reviews. Thanks for listening.